Here are our top 10 tips to ensure that you make the most out of the reading experience with a child. Imagine hearing a song with awesome music where the artist sings in a very monotone voice and never looks at the audience. It would not be very entertaining, and if you were watching it on television, you would likely want to change the station. Reading a book is the same. Get them engaged with our top 10 tips when reading super personalised books to children. Tip number 1, use voice inflection. People don't talk in monotone, and neither should a story be read that way. Listen to your brain when you're reading it to yourself. Even then, if we are taking the time to really read, our brains will instinctively add inflection to the story. When reading out aloud to children, make sure that you engage them by using voice inflection. Read faster at times if the action in the book warrants it. Slow down where appropriate. Speak louder during times of conflict and softer at other times. A monotone voice is like white noise and not very engaging for children. It will eventually put them to sleep or send them off talking to one another. Tip number 2, your face also tells a story. You may be reading, but don't forget that your face is critically important to how the story is received, and the children will be watching you as you read. Reading to a group of children is not like sitting in your house reading for your own pleasure. Smile when the story is entertaining. Grimace when the hero encounters a seemingly unsurmountable problem. Let the children see the worry in your eyes or excitement in your cheeks. Your facial expressions help to give children clues to how they should react to the story. Tip number 3, create character voices. Have you ever seen a movie where every character sounded exactly the same? I don't think so. Neither should the characters of a book all sound the same. You don't have to be an impressionist in order to give your characters voice. Talk in high pitches for female voices, lower pitches for male voices. As a storyteller, it is an enjoyable aspect of reading. Tip number 4, remember to pause. So often when we read out aloud, we totally forget how we speak in normal everyday conversations. Remember to pause for effect and to allow the listener to catch up and process what they've already heard. As you reach the climax of the story, pause for just a little longer than normal to build the anticipation. If you're reading something funny, pause and allow time for the audience to respond. Tip number 5, look at the audience. Look up, look up, look up. You may be reading, but you still have an audience, and nothing is more engaging than eye contact. Look at the child while you read to gauge their comprehension and response to the story. If you're reading to a group, try to make eye contact with as many people as possible. A quick smile while you're looking at them will work wonders. Tip number 6, don't cover up the pictures. If the books you are reading has pictures, children will want to see them. Learning to read while holding a book out on your side with one hand will be a valuable talent. If you are reading to a really large group, consider scanning the pictures and projecting them on a screen so the children can see them as you read. One thing I can guarantee you, if you cover up the pictures, children will interrupt your reading and let you know. Tip number 7, your body language also matters when you're reading to children. If the part of the story you are reading is scary, tense your body up a little bit. If it's exciting, bounce a little on your seat. Use hand gestures as you read. Your goal is not to turn the book into a play, but children will notice your body language and gestures, so make them count. Tip number 8, read the story ahead of time. No matter what you do, you should always be prepared. Don't assume that all you're doing is reading a book and therefore you don't have to prepare. Read the story ahead of time, preferably several times. Think about the voices you will use, gestures and facial expressions you'll make, and every other aspect of your reading. You might venture from that plan during the reading, but at least you will be prepared. Tip number 9, ad-lib a little. Don't stray too far from the story, and you never want your comments to become a distraction, but it is okay to intersperse the story with your own comments. Comments like, wow, I wonder what he's going to do next. Or, oh, that's scary. Help to personalise the story a little bit. They also show the child that you are engaged in the story and not just reading from a book. And tip number 10, ask questions when you're done. A story is useless if there's no comprehension. Spend a couple of minutes afterwards leading children in a conversation about the book. Ask some questions to gauge comprehension and ask other questions to get them thinking. For many books, one of my favourite questions to ask is, what do you think happened next? Our super personalised books are aimed at children from birth to 8 years old. Based on international and national research, we know that when parents read super personalised books to children from birth to 3 years, it fires their imagination and opens their world to books. Children between the ages of 3 to 6 year old, children begin to recognise words and read with guidance. They get especially excited when they see their name and character. Generally speaking, between the ages of 3 to 8 years old, children begin to read independently, if they already have a love of reading early on.